This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories. And welcome to my recap of the Bad Batch's Season 3 premiere. I am once again going over the episodes Confined, Paths Unknown, and Shadow of Tantiss. I did do the review of these already, and although I did want to get these out together, I just wasn't able to, since there was construction going on, and I had to wait for somewhere else to be available so I could record. So if you didn't want them together, I am sorry, but there was just no way for me to get it out. So let's go straight into this recap. An Imperial shuttle approaches the world of Wayland, and as it approaches Mount Tantiss, it is taken out by a storm and crash lands. The Imperials call for backup, but Dr. Hemlock, knowing that there is no point in saving them because they're already dead, refuses to send forces out. Now imprisoned, Omega looks upon the forests of Wayland out of Mount Tantiss and longs to escape. There she is greeted by Dr. Emery, who has her go through many different procedures. She goes on passing by Crosshair, who seems extremely depressed as she passes by him. She then goes and helps Dr. Emery get samples from different clones, and that day she is getting a sample of Omega also. Omega then goes to Nalise's lab where she comes in and brings the samples to her. Nalise is then very nervous when she realizes they took a sample from Omega and quickly destroys it, explaining to Omega that she could tell nobody about this because it would put her in danger. Omega then asks her why she's here, and Nalise explains that she's here to motivate her, and Omega is a little disappointed by this, but then continues on with helping Nalise in her research until she is pulled away to meet with Dr. Hemlock. She then goes and begins to feed some of the creatures that the Empire uses to go on patrols. And with one of them, one she is named Badger, seems to not be wanting the food, so she gives him some of her food, then steals a little bit of straw to do something in her room. Then on her way back, she passes by Crosshair's cell for the first time, telling him that she is sorry that she hasn't been able to stop by sooner, but she has had too many guards on her. She then begins to discuss with Crosshair about escape, and Crosshair tells her that she shouldn't save him, and if he had a chance to escape, he would just leave her behind without a second thought. Omega does not believe him and heads back to her cell. Omega once again looks out the window at the forests of Wayland, but then uses the straw she took to create a doll for herself. The next day, she once again follows through the same procedure, crossing by Crosshair, going to Nalise, where her blood sample is destroyed, and then once again going to the pens, where she realizes that Badger was injured. She wants to help him, but the droid that supervises the room refuses, saying it is not a medical droid, and Badger will be put down if it doesn't heal. And Omega does not want this, so she goes and uses medical supplies to heal him. Then she meets with Crosshair, who tells her that she shouldn't be focusing on helping Badger or anyone else. She should just be focusing on her own escape if that's what she wants. Omega, once again, doesn't really believe that he believes this. She then returns to her room where the next morning Dr. Emery comes in with a clone commando unit who search through her room and eventually figure out that she has her doll. Dr. Emery takes it, saying that Omega is not allowed to have anything, and she takes the doll with her And after this, Omega once again goes through the exact same procedure until she gets to Badger and realizes that not only did he fully heal, but he is a lot more friendly. This is something that excites her until the droid supervisor mentions that Badger is going to be terminated for becoming docile. Omega begs him not to, saying that it's her fault. The droid ignores her, and Omega steals his datapad. Trying to set Badger free, the droid begins to attack her. She uses the datapad to drop a crate on him, crushing him. She then sets Badger free and lets him go off. As Dr. Hemlock arrives just after this, he is very disappointed in Omega and says what she did was very cruel. Omega is confused and he tells her how she just gave him a death sentence and it would have been a lot more humane for them to put him down. Omega says that it is giving him a chance with them already going to kill him. Hemlock completely ignores her and the hypocrisy of the situation and tells her that he's going to lock her up. Omega says that there is nothing that he could do to harm her since she is leverage against Nalise. Hemlock only coldly replies that instead he'll be torturing Crosshair if she ever does anything that displeases him. Omega is horrified by this, saying he can't, but Hemlock, being the monster he is, just simply ignores her and has her sent back to her cell. There, Omega is crying about this, and Dr. Emery, seeing how bad the day was, decides to return Omega's doll to her. Omega once again looks out upon the jungles of Wayland. At the same time, Badger goes and reaches the crashed Imperial shuttle and begins to howl. On the other side of the galaxy, at the Durand family fortress, the Durand family is going through many procedures with different people. One of them is a guard who betrayed them, and this guard definitely shows no mercy and, although tries to lie, is caught when he is told that his fellow conspirators have confessed everything. He is then executed as the next people are brought in. This is Hunter and Wrecker bringing the pike that cut off the younger Durand's horn, and he is pleased by this. The mother and head of the family thanks the Bad Batch for their help, saying they must be truly desperate to want to cross the Pike Syndicate, and the Bad Batch mentions that they just need the information they're here for to be able to save a member of their crew. And they are given this intel and head out to go to a potential location of Dr. Hemlock's lab. On board the Marauder, Wrecker says that they should wait for Rex and Echo to be available. He points out that the last time they tried to storm an Imperial compound, not all of them made it back, but being desperate to save Omega, Hunter refuses, saying that they let her wait too long, and the two of them go to this planet. Going and landing, they manage to find the facility, which has been destroyed by orbital bombardment. They then are confronted by two younger men who they realize are clone cadets. They begin to question them to why they are here, and they mention that they were brought here and experimented on, but managed to escape when the facility was being abandoned. They agree to take the Bad Batch to their leader, and then tell them to make sure to follow the path and not touch any of the vines. Wrecker, of course, ignores this and does touch one of them, which nearly kills him. Hunter is able to save him, and they discover that these vines were part of an Imperial project that went rogue, and that is the reason this base was destroyed. So they then go and meet with the final clone cadet, and the three of them discuss with the Bad Batch the facility and everything going on there, and how there is a single working data port from what they could tell when they were exploring it, but they couldn't go back anymore. The Bad Batch want to go there, and the three cadets are reluctant. But one of them, named Deke, decides to go and show them the way there and bring them to the panel. The Bad Batch are thankful, and they go off to the base. But first stop at the Marauder to pick up Gonki to be able to power up the terminal. They then go and begin to explore and find many different dangers in there. Deke is nearly killed, but the Bad Batch are able to save him. Then back at the cave, the other two clone cadets, who are named Mox and Stack, consider leaving on the Bad Batch's shuttle. They begin to talk about it and how they'd be no different than the Empire, but realize if they wait too long that the vines will reach the shuttle and destroy it. So they decide to head to the ship and see what they would do from there. The Bad Batch get to the terminal and attach Gonki to it. They have Deke go and pull the information and load it onto a datapad as they fend off vines. They go and call for assistance, which is picked up by the other two young cadets who have already made it to the Marauder and are considering once again leaving the Bad Batch and their fellow cadet behind. The Bad Batch, realizing that they're out of time, pull the datapad with whatever data it could get and grab Gonki and run for it, heading for the exit to the facility. They begin to climb up, seeing this as the best way as the vines begin to chase them. As they reach the top, they find the Marauder above, who is piloted by one of the cadets as the other lowers down the winches to them so they could get up. Sadly, they aren't able to escape fully as the vines wrap around the Marauder and is holding it in place. Hunter and Wrecker try to get it off of the ship, but they aren't able to do anything. Realizing that the explosive that Wrecker has isn't enough, they ask the cadets, who now are all on board the ship, to dump their crate of explosives into it. Doing so, they drop it in and drop in one final detonator. As it goes in, an explosion goes off, forcing the creature to let go and letting the cadets and Bad Batch escape. The kids and the Bad Batch go and celebrate this small victory as they look at the fact they do have a system to start looking in, but not an exact location. They tell the kids that they'll be dropping them off on a small island where they will be able to be safe and protected by good people. Returning to Tantiss, we see that Omega once again goes through the same procedures, as we can see a little bit more of where Crosshair is coming from, as we see a mysterious trooper in armor watching them. We then see Omega once again getting a blood sample taken, but Nalisai isn't able to operate on it at all because Dr. Hemlock says they have a very important visitor coming, and Nalisai must go to meet him. Although she tries to get into a place where she could destroy Omega's blood sample, she realizes it is impossible. She then goes to finish up something that she was working on, but tells Omega behind her back that she has to go and escape today because once the Empire is able to analyze her blood, she'll be in great danger. She tells her to take her datapad and use it to escape. Omega understands as she watches Nalase leave. Omega goes and enters into the lab, where she begins to talk to Dr. Emery, who thinks Omega isn't feeling well and tells her to take the day off and return to her room. Omega does leave, but does manage to steal Nalase's datapad. Taking it, she prepares her escape, Meanwhile, above Wayland, an Imperial shuttle surrounded by multiple V-Wings comes in. This lands at Mount Tantiss and outsteps Emperor Palpatine. Hemlock is honored to have the Emperor there. Meanwhile, Omega begins to plan her escape using the datapad to open a turbo lift to go down to Crosshair's level. Reaching the level, she goes to Crosshair's cell and tells him to cause a distraction. Crosshair does and orders one of the TK troopers to come over. Wanting to see what this is about, the trooper does come over, and Crosshair demands for him to let him out and give him his weapon. The trooper thinks that Crosshair is losing it, saying that he doesn't outrank him. The cell door then opens, and Crosshair easily takes the TK trooper out and helps take out the other one. Omega then goes and grabs the datapad back, and they begin their escape. As they move through the halls, they hide in cover where they find a patrol of TK troopers who are complaining about the extra duties, but realize that with the Emperor being here, that they have no real choice in the matter. Crosshair is in shock, saying to Omega that he was wondering if she knew that the Emperor was here. She says that she didn't know, and Crosshair begins to berate her for winging this plan, but Omega says that she has no choice and has to escape now. Palpatine reaches deeper into sight of Tantiss, into the main operation of the facility. Here he looks upon many different innovations as Dr. Hemlock shows him inside one of the test tubes they have. He tells Palpatine that they are doing their best to replicate the midichlorian count of a being in a clone, and they are going to be continuing to do their best at this. Palpatine is very pleased with their progress so far and begins to congratulate Dr. Hemlock on his work so far, telling him he has to keep this completely confidential because there are many, even within the Empire, that would condemn his work. Meanwhile, back at the lab, Omega's sample gets closer and closer to being analyzed. Dr. Emery returns to Omega's room to check on her. Seeing she is not there and realizing what is going on, she goes to find her. Omega and Crosshair reach the pens where they take out the droid that is guarding the room. They then go and prepare for their escape using the tunnels that the creatures escape through to go on the hunt to escape themselves. Omega mentions the ray shields and they'll have to be fast when they escape, but they are then confronted by Emery, who tells them that if they drop their weapons now and return to their cells, that she won't report any of this. They disagree, and Crosshair stuns her, but Emery did set off a beacon, letting everyone know that an escape attempt is in progress. Meanwhile, Palpatine, preparing to leave, once again expresses how important it is for Dr. Hemlock to not have his work discovered and keep Mount Tantiss secure. He then goes and tells Hemlock that this is one of the most important things to secure the future of the Empire. Hemlock tries to get a promotion out of Palpatine, but Palpatine says it will happen all in due time and goes to leave and return to Coruscant. Hemlock is then informed by Scorch about the escape attempt in progress, and he orders a lockdown of the facility. The ray shields begin to go up, and Omega and Crosshair are just barely able to escape out of the facility. Making it into the woods, and Omega says that they should go towards a shuttle that crashed when she first arrived at the facility. Crosshair wonders what they could do from that, but Omega thinks they could get the comms operational and be able to contact Hunter to rescue them. The creatures are released to hunt them down, and Hemlock begins to monologue to Emery and Alice, say how they cannot let them escape and to use any means necessary to recapture them. Nalase is then questioned by Hemlock about her participation in Omega's escape, and Nalase mentions that she is not guilty of anything and she has been with Hemlock all day. Hemlock is still suspicious of her and orders for her to be returned to her cell. As he does this, he has multiple squads of troopers going out after them in Imperial ships. Omega and Crosshair are encountering one of the many deadly predators in Wayland's jungle that Omega was told about by Dr. Hemlock when she let Batcher free. But thankfully, they are basically rescued when the creature sent after them by Hemlock encounters this creature and the two begin to fight. Using this as a distraction, they escape and, using the trajectory of Palpatine's shuttle, use it to figure out a flight path and go along it until they find the Imperial shuttle, which Omega begins to power up. Meanwhile, Dr. Emery returns to working on the clone's blood, and while she does it, Omega's blood gets even closer to being the one that is analyzed. Meanwhile, back at the ship, Omega realizes that there is no way for them to be able to fix the comms unit and apologizes to Crosshair for putting them in this situation. But finally, seeing hope, Crosshair goes and tells Omega that it is fine and that they now have a chance as he sees the Imperial ships approach. Clone commandos alongside multiple TK troopers exit, and Omega and Crosshair execute one of the Bad Batch's plans, which involves Crosshair distracting the troopers as Omega steals the shuttle. This plan works out, and Omega is able to take one of the Imperial shuttles. She then uses it to take out many of the troopers pinning down Crosshair, lets Crosshair aboard, and has him go up to the cockpit as she goes down and calls her Batcher. Meanwhile, multiple viewing fighters are launched as Omega, alongside Batcher and Crosshair, manage to escape and fly out of the planet's atmosphere. They are pursued by V-Wings and are fired at by the turbo lasers. At the same time as this, Dr. Emery discovers that Omega's blood will be able to work alongside their experiments and rushes to tell Dr. Hemlock that they cannot kill Omega. The Imperial shuttle is hit by one of the turbo laser blasts, and Emery makes it just in time to tell Dr. Hemlock that they cannot kill him and that the blood of Omega is going to work with their experiments, knowing that they have a better chance of continuing these experiments if they recapture them and are able to track him down. Hemlock orders for the Imperial forces to break off their pursuit and not fire anymore. This gives Omega and Crosshair the chance to escape and go to hyperspace. But Hemlock explains that this is no victory as they have the full resources of the Empire to go and track the two down. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.